Hello everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And if you guys wanted to follow me on Patreon, you can head on over there as well. Patreon.com/jonathanrector. All the links are at the bottom. I know I keep saying it, but if you're watching this, you're most likely going to watch the screen from time to time, so all the links are there. No need to repeat all that stuff. So, what's going on? How you guys been? How you guys been this whole week? It's been really busy on my end. I got a phenomenal gig that I can't talk about at all, which is sucks, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity, great chance, and I'm learning a whole bunch, which sort of brings me into why I'm working back in Photoshop lately. Here, I'll just press tab so you guys can see. So we're going to talk about, I guess, why we're back in Photoshop. In the chat, hello buddy. He wants to know about the con that I had, what was it, 2 weeks ago now, at the convention I attended. And the third thing, I guess we can talk about, and hopefully I don't forget about all this stuff, but you guys will be there to help me out. The third thing to talk about is I'm back on my 12WX Cintiq and not the big Hurant. I know it says Hurant here in Picarto. I didn't have a chance to change that. So let's start with the con, I guess, before we start going into all this stuff. And actually, I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna forget. Con, Cintiq, and what was the last one? Photoshop. Just so we don't forget them. So the convention, how did it go? How was it? Well, I will say it was not exactly what I was expecting or hoping. I didn't make a lot of money and all that stuff. That's fine. I'm not going to cry about that. But what I was, what kind of sucked was the timing. And I know this is going to sound weird because it feels like it's starting off with just straight excuses, and it's not meant to be that. But when I was told about the con that I went to anyway. It was great. Everything was ready to go, all that stuff. And I believe I talked about it too with you guys. Was that another convention from out of town decided, a much bigger venue too, I should say, decided to come from out of town, Toronto actually. And the idea, from what I've heard, is that they're looking to have a convention here in Windsor, like a Comic-Con, right? And what was awesome was that, or what that is awesome is that, from what I know, it did really well. It attracted a lot of people, had some celebrities, all the stuff that I don't care about. But the average person that goes to a comic book con that's not necessarily a comic book creator, but they just want to go and have a good time with their family and stuff, they would have a blast going to. Which helps all of us because it just gets more people in there, and if we're lucky, some of them will come on down to Artist Alley and take a look at what we got. So, that being said, I think it was understood that going into this show that there was the chance, a high chance, because that one was a whole weekend. The show I went to was just for a day, and it was the first con that this group, I suppose we could call them, had the show going. Now, they did a wonderful job. Everything they did was fantastic. The problem was, at least from my standpoint, was that outside of this convention, like literally outside, it was a family day. Like all kinds of activities and stuff, and this was held at a college. And there was a family day, and I believe there was also like this dog show. Not sure. Something to do with dogs. So what happened was you'd get a lot of people, stragglers as I like to call them, coming in because it was extremely hot outside, and they're coming with their families and stuff, which is great. And if they were going to buy anything at all, like I can't imagine they weren't going to leave the show with like a handful of stuff, like books and comics and prints and all kinds of stuff, right? It was more of like a little things that they could grab. I don't know if the stuff that I had to sell, which was just prints and commissions, if it was overpriced, if it was just not of quality that people were interested in, a whole bunch of different things to like take into account here. And then I feel like I can't give like a it's what I'm trying to do, and I recommend you guys do too. If you guys are just getting into heading to conventions and stuff, is keeping a list of how much money you spend, what sold, like an inventory, really, right? So that you know the next time you go to that show or any show, maybe some places, some things sell better at different places, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think I can give an accurate representation of maybe the stuff I had, because I don't believe the people that would be interested in purchasing my stuff went to that show. Not as many as I think all of us would have hoped. Some people did really well. I just wasn't one of them, which is fine. So just to go there, my expectations, that was sort of like the expectation was I was hoping it would be more of a bigger, more comic book driven thing. It felt like a lot of the people coming in were just, I would say a majority of the people coming in were just coming from other events that were happening at the same time. So there is all that. What's that? Unsaying, slow down. Wasn't this the first con you went to in a long while, and wasn't this their first con? Yes, this was the place that I went to, their first con. I've been to cons, a bunch of cons before, helping push books, sell, and things like that. This is my first personal one. So the things that I brought were just prints and artwork, no comic books, stuff like that. So a little different, And then there's the whole side of it too that I talked about, I believe last week as well, of like how much of the business side was it that wasn't my fault, or like that was my fault, like was I not pitching enough? Was that the problem? Stuff like that. So all in all, I'll go to the next one. I believe it's earlier next year, and hopefully there won't be any cross events going on. I think that really takes a lot of the sting right out of the cons. So there's that, but there's I've got a bunch of cons coming up, or one. There's one at Christmas that I'll be going to as well. So that one will most definitely be a little bit more appropriate to comic book people, that kind of stuff. So hopefully that, it's always fun talking about the con. I forgot that I didn't even talk about it. But before we jump to the next thing, I just want to talk about what I'm drawing here too. This here is character name Hurant. This is what's it called? Gildas, the main character, Castle Dracula. I'm starting to iron it out. I wanted to talk about a piece of software as well you guys might dig if you're into writing, and especially like that for comics and stuff. And the story's taken a drastic turn in the style that I want it to be in, and what I want to say with it. And in doing that, this is his father in the story. They're I would say homeless in a lot of respects. Nothing special, and they're merchants. They have a little booth that they sell oranges at, and that's what they do. Is they sell oranges. And I want his dad to, because they're homeless, like homeless people generally have like a look, they don't get the necessary things that all of us, most of us I should say, get, like whatever. So he'll have like some missing teeth. I want his features to be off, but he's missing a tooth. There's a story behind this. His right hand only has the pointer finger and a thumb. The other three fingers have been cut off, and I'll explain that in the story as well. And we'll go from there. And I guess this could kind of go into... it looks like I was disconnected from the chat, so I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. But it might be Picarto being silly. I'll try to refresh it here. Hopefully you guys can still see the stream. So the workflow I'm working in here too is... Sorry guys, I'm getting like a frog in my throat here. Tim is saying, I watched the Gildas video yesterday and I was wondering if you finalized the facial mark that he was going to get from the order. No, I haven't. I'm still... His design is still... Since he's the main character, I've got to be careful with certain things. I want him to look cool all the time. I want people to dig the way he looks and stuff. So I want the scar to have a little bit more of a meaning. So I'm just putting it on hold right now. There's no real rush. I'm still working on the script and the story and all that good stuff. So this will go into the Photoshop thing. Why am I working in Photoshop? Well, the client work that I have right now, I don't want to say forces me, but there's a lot of benefits and some pluses. I guess we could talk about it too if you guys are interested. In working in Photoshop over Manga Studio, and I love Manga Studio. I've loved it since Manga Studio 4. But including my day job, I use Photoshop all the time. And this method here I call the Freddy method. You guys know this style of drawing. Some people really hate it. Some people can't stand it. I keep falling in love with it over and over again the more I use it. And it comes into a lot of just sort of, I don't want to say giving up on your I don't want to say giving up on your art because that sounds stupid. It's more of a literally working like with microns and stuff. And it might look like, your line quality gets kind of funky and stuff, but honestly, once you get to the inking stage, a lot of the problems go away. I've said that to death. But the biggest benefit to working like this for me, because I'm not a fan of, I don't want to say I'm not a fan, but like doing tight pencils and then inking over things in Manga Studio, like with a proper inking thing, like you get some nice pencils like we've all done, and then I get like a G pen or whatever, and I just start inking with line weights right away. I feel like that's more inkerly, if there's a better way of saying it. And in this method here, you can hammer out more quicker. And you could totally work like this in Manga Studio for sure. For sure. But right now, this is sort of tying into, I guess, with the Hurant. I sort of put that to the side right now. I'm going to be making a video, hopefully next week. An updated video of why I went back to the Cintiq here instead of sticking with the Hurant. And there's little nuances that really come into fruition. Like I can really notice once I went back to this method here. And it could be my computer's not up to snuff, not able to run such a big, badass, what is it, 22-inch HDMI, 1080p, whatever the hell kind of monitor it is. I'm not sure. The lack of screen girth, I'll call it, does suck. That's the one thing that I've noticed I'm getting a huge hit from, and I wish I had more. I don't necessarily like always having to have a second window open, just zoomed out, like I do in Photoshop right now, just so I can have this sort of thing going on. But you gotta do what you gotta do. But the other thing too is when I'm able to use like the Cintiq, it's much smaller. At my day job, I use Photoshop for everything I do. And when I'm doing artwork, I have a Intuos, and I've gotten very used to drawing with that and having a hand on the keyboard. So I've been using tablets, oh my god, for quite some time growing up, right back from the Graphire, which I believe is a Bamboo now, but I've been using them for just to learn how to digitally draw forever. So I'm very used to it, and I've just given into being comfortable, at least for now, with having the hand on the keyboard, just drawing like this, because this style here doesn't necessarily need anything fancy done to it right away. You can build up to that stuff, and again, speed is of the essence. And that's what this method does. So that's why I'm sort of like working on this as well. What was that? Yeah, so it kind of ties it in. The video I will have will talk about why, again, I've gone back to this Cintiq. It's the little things that I honestly don't think, unless you've used a Cintiq and used the Hurant or anything like that, it's different. It's radically different. And now I'm lying. It's similar, but there's little things, little details. So anyway, so what I'll be doing today is sort of just doing how if you guys have been following my channel for like a year or two, you guys have probably seen me drawing like this, or if you got the DC Comics Guide to digitally drawing comics, same idea here. So this character again is Gildas's father. At least for now, they'll most likely have design changes. But I had an idea in my head of somebody I actually saw today walking on the street while I was grabbing lunch at work. Bits and pieces, little details. The wrinkly forehead, the big nose with the little bump. It's not like a wart, but it's just a bump on there. Just some characters around him. So we're going to have him, and then again, he sells oranges. That's what him and his son do. That's what they do to make a living. So we're going to have this, and we're going to jump right into doing some fun stuff here. Actions are a massive thing. I know you can do these in Manga Studio. I'm not sure if you can associate F keys to them, but in Photoshop you can. So I'm just going to show you like some really cool stuff. You guys have seen this stuff before. So we're going to make a new layer here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw these lines in here. I want these to be the lines that make up his shirt there. What did I switch it to? I think it was just F8. Yep. Just press a key and it makes it instantly like new lines there. We're going to clean this up. But you'll see like how fast it is to be able to do stuff like this. And you might not like the way it looks. That's cool. Nobody's here to judge anybody on this stuff. But I will say this is really powerful stuff to do. And even if you are using Manga Studio, I would recommend having functions, I think they're called. Or are they functions? I believe they're functions. Just to have this thing going on. We'll jazz some of this up here in a second. I just want to have some of these lines kind of and again, this is one of the reasons I love this method so much is not that you can't do this in any other style. Of course you can. Totally can. But it just feels like it's a little bit more at home in this style. And I never would have found this out if it wasn't for that book as well, right? So, see, and that's what I'm talking about. Just fun stuff, just real quick. And when we go in there to do the inking and stuff, it's take no time to fix all this stuff up. You guys will see there. Sorry, Tim. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. He's saying again, probably because the chat cut out there. Sorry for the repeat question, but the video dropped. Did you decide on Gilda's trader mark? No, I haven't decided on it just yet. The story's changed a bit. I'm not sure if he's going to be a trader anymore. Where I'd like to go now is a little different. Actually, I'm going to show you guys this just in case this thing craps out or whatever. But I think today's the last day, unfortunately, for the sale. So for anybody that's in the chat that's interested in this in writing, there's this program right here. If you've never used it, called Scrivener, I believe it's called. I'm just going to open it now, just so you guys can kind of see what I've been using. And again, it's on sale for today. So if you're watching on YouTube, the sale might be off. I'm not sure. Let me just bring it over here. So I sort of have this new one started here. But the idea here is, and I'm not here to promote this stuff, but I'm a guy that likes to write with plots, and you can totally use paper or note cards and stuff like that. But this program's got this note card in here where you can drop in plots and stuff like that. But what's really cool is they have a lot of, let me just start with a blank one here. Or actually, you know what, screw it. We'll just use this one. There's a lot of really neat things in here. So like, each note card you make, like let's make another one here called, I don't know, it's just new text. You can do like Act 1, whatever, right? And you'll see they happen over here. So what you can do is you can go ahead and you write your story in here. Yeah, that's cool. But in Act 1, you're sort of talking about like, like monsters and fighting. Cool. But there's a way you can actually do this, which is actually really sick. You can have this thing, so you split up both documents. So I can be writing in this card, and maybe I've got reference or something in this one, and I can jump back and forth between plot. Like I'll tell you this, I like to know the ending before I even start any kind of writing. So I like to know what the story's about, and then know where I'm going. That's the kind of guy, the writer I am. So I need the ending. So I'd start with like whatever the ending is. In the beginning, I can do sort of like opposites and find ways to do things. But this goes on, and you can move this stuff around. Oops, excuse me. I think I dropped that in the research. Oh, no, I dropped it in here. But anyway, I don't want to promote this. I just want to let you guys know if you're into writing, check this out. There's a free demo, Scrivener, I believe it's called. And you might dig it. Especially if you're looking for something besides just a generic word processor and stuff like that to help your writing. James is called Scrivener. Give me a second here, guys. I'll actually just post it in the chat. I downloaded the demo, I don't know, a couple days ago. I got an email a week and a half ago. And this program used to only be for Mac. So I'm glad that now if you got Windows, you can finally use it. There you go, buddy. Millennium saying Freddie Williams' book is a must-have for any serious digital comic artist. If any of you guys don't have it, please get it. I 100% recommend. Matador is saying he bought that program that I just talked about and could not figure it out. I'm with you. It's complicated. It's very old school looking too, eh? It's looking like Windows 95. There's a video at the bottom of that link that I just posted. You may have checked it out too, Matador. And that's what kind of made me download the demo anyways. They have a very brief discussion of um, what you can do in it, and that was enough for me. It's like anything else. It'll take some time to kind of go in there and noodle and fiddle with stuff until you get like a workflow that works for you. But I've been looking for software that had like a cork board or something for note cards, and I've been having a biatch of a time, man. I don't know about you guys. Or how you guys even like to write. Is there anybody in here that likes to write or that does write comics? Or you guys just, or some of you guys those badass comic artists that just like jump right in, both feet right into the deep end and just start drawing and writing as you go. Oh, Tim. Okay, so you posted that. Yes, I did get notified. I got an email that there's a comment on there. So hopefully I'll be able to check it out tonight. So thanks for even leaving an opinion. I really do appreciate that. I don't want to just, I'm not saying it just to say it. I do appreciate any feedback you guys give me with story ideas and stuff like that. Even if I don't use them or anything like that, it's still cool. Same here, Matador. I just want to draw too, man. Un says he barely speaks English. That's great. So right now I'm just doing the contour line, which wraps up what the method's called at this point is the wireframes, and this one just sort of like finishes it up, and then you'd come back to do the inks, which we should be able to do today. I'm just gonna actually go back down here. Sometimes I'll do this with the contour line, and then I'll go back and I'll erase the overlapping lines just to clean it up. And that's enough for that. So if I turn off the pencil layer, right, like this would be it. And it might look flat and stuff, but it's very simple. Very easy to get some line weights in there. Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll actually just go in there because I don't want to lie to you guys and not have a chance to do this. So we'd have all that. We're going to make a new layer, and this one would be just for inking. This is where we get to pick out our line weights for our light source. I'm going to just go ahead and it's coming from the top. It's not a big deal. So let's turn off our pencil layer. So we're just adding where the line weights would be, right? And right away it just makes everything just starts to look better with some line weight action. I think I want this guy to have like lighter hair. And you see how, okay, like here I'll show you. Okay, so we got this contour line like right here with his ear. What we do now is like you can just break like line weights into that contour line like this, and it just makes everything blend together, right? Yeah, there's usually what I'll do here. I'll show you guys this. If you guys aren't familiar with Photoshop, or maybe you are, maybe you guys work like this. So I'm just gonna zoom out. Let's just say this was like, you know, a panel for this for Hurant here. Is that even anything? No. Okay. So I'll just select the layers that he is. Just Shift click and Control G to group it. That way, once the layers are all kind of done, I like to do this. That way I can go in here and still fiddle with the layers. Some people just turn it into a smart object. If you've never seen a smart object before, just so you can go in there and edit things. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here. And you can definitely just press X too. I believe it's the same in Manga Studio. So some of your lines are looking kind of janky. You just press X and draw back over in white. That's all. And I honestly don't know how inky, I'll call it. I'm going to go with this book, to be honest. Um, one of the project that I'm working on right now, it's very open style, and it's much quicker, obviously, because you don't need to worry about light source as much as you would with like light and shadow necessarily, you know. No, I won't be doing any critiquing tonight, only because sometimes it's not your guys' fault or anything. We go a little bit over, and the deadline I have it's pretty crazy. So I want to make sure that I've got time. This has basically been my schedule, guys. I'll just fill you in. Sorry, and you guys don't need to. I know most of you guys don't care. I'm not trying to vent to you guys too much here, but the deadline's pretty hefty. So how life's been for the last little bit, and hopefully this will all be done by the weekend, is that so I'm up at 6 in the morning, draw for about, or no, have a shower, eat, and then draw until about 7:40. Then go to work, get home about 5, eat something very quickly, and draw until 9, and then 9:10, and then be in bed, and then just repeat it. So there's like stuff not even getting done around the house. It's like it's a disgusting mess over here. But like I say, it'll be done soon, and be able to get back on track and stuff. So we're just actually just breaking up some of these lines. You guys will see in a sec what it does. Sacrifices for right. That's right. And it's choice, right? Like totally. I'm loving doing it. I just wanted to give you guys a reason why I won't be able to do critiques tonight. So sorry about that. Next week we will. Next week we will for sure. So let's switch this to white, just to break up the lines a little bit. I think this should work. Yep, there we go. Just run a little action, just dirties up the lines a little bit. Gives them a little bit of look like, you know, like ink hit it. Let me get back to the... Oops, let me zoom out. I keep zooming in too much. I'll just do, I love doing this. I swear to God, in Photoshop, this was like the only way I did hair. Manga Studio, the brushes are so nice that I think I would go ahead and get a little more artsy with it. We don't want to go too crazy here. Hey, oh man, I'm gonna butcher your name. Sorry, pal. You're sad? You're sad stuff. Is that, am I saying that right? Just take a look how it's going. You guys are too much. And one of the things that's really excited about working like this too is I'm looking at more Arthur Adams, And guys and girls who kind of just draw, I guess Mobius as well, you know, like a lot of those artists that just draw, it feels like, I know a lot of them they don't use microns and pens like that, I think. Could be totally wrong. But the feeling of just using like a pen, not a brush, to do rendering and stuff like that is really cool. And you can go really crazy with it and get like build up so much volume and stuff that it looks really beautiful. I don't know how crazy I'll be going with that, but just try to go a little quick with it here. And okay, we're gonna just bring this up. It's easier to do lines this way. It's quicker. Instead of having to do the line yourself, trying to get it perfect, you know? Let's get it done. Was that quote you guys have all heard? Perfect is the what? The enemy of done? Something like that? That doesn't mean your art's going to be crap just because you're going to like skip a bunch of steps or anything. It just means what's more important, right? It being perfect or being done. Zooms out here just so we can see it. See, so it's starting to feel a little bit more organic, right? Like it totally feels less different than, in my opinion anyway, than it did with just straight lines. Like we turned this off. This is what we were working with, right? And just line weights. That's all it is. Line weights and adding a little bit of black to the hair. And it instantly makes the whole thing pop. I'm actually just going to give him a little bit of a chest cut here for his pectoral majors. Phone's just blowing up. Just draw into the cuts here. Alright, so last stage we'll do here. Yep, and James saying something that we said before too. Fast, quality, or cheap. You can only have two. So fast and quality, it's going to be expensive. Fast and cheap, quality's got to take a hit. And you know what I've noticed too? You guys can let me know if you guys have seen this. I'm hoping you have. We may have already talked about it. Let me just flip this here to see how it looks on the other side. Is if you look at artists like, the easiest one I could think of is Ryan Otley from Invincible. If you look at his comic book work, beautiful stuff. I love it. If you look at his sketches or follow anything he does on Twitter or anything else, it's something else. It's like rendered heavy. There's just a little extra art in there. And the thing is, I've read something that he said too, and I've seen people say this, and it's exactly the truth. It's, you know, comic books, they're so deadline driven that you don't really have a choice. You got to do what you got to do. Some people say they have their comic book style, and then some people say how they would like to draw, right? So it's just, I'm trying to keep that more in the front of my head. A lot of the people that I used to look at, I don't want to say respect because that's a horrible way to go into this, but people that I used to admire for their comic book work, I sort of, I don't look to them for inspiration anymore. It's more of I'm looking at the people like, I guess even like Kirby's and stuff, right? The people that are able to hammer out books and stories and yeah, the art. You'll hear a lot of people like John Romita Jr. and stuff. A lot of people don't like certain people's art, and that's cool, but they're getting work because they can do work, right? And sometimes the style can't be as beautiful as you'd like it to be all the time. And sometimes it can. Okay. So the rendering here, like I was saying with, what was I saying here? Like Arthur Adams and stuff is, we would just be again that 3-pixel brush, and we're just going to go in there and do that a bunch and a bunch of times. So I'm going to start with the nose here. It's actually pretty quick to do this stuff. I'm just trying to round out forms with this here. And this one I think I went to a 2 point instead of 3. Yeah. You can go ahead and do little details. I don't really like dressing up the eye too much. I know some people, you know, like, I don't know. They'll go like this and stuff. See how that looks. It's okay. I don't know. I'm a sucker for just like open eyes with nothing in them. Oh, no problem, man. We're all good people in here. Let's see here. It's a little test. I don't want him to look like a witch, but I'll just put some lip texture in there too. And it starts to feel a little bit like I've noticed, especially right now, I'm looking off camera, getting like a McFarlane Capullo vibe, like from Spawn or something. It's because they always drew like a bunch of lines on their older people. But you see right away, hopefully you guys can see, it's not taking too much time. And we're just adding a little bit of lines and stuff, and it's just making it feel a little bit more complete. And what's really crazy is if I were to pick up like a micron or something, and I just wanted to draw on paper, I could totally translate this kind of workflow right into that. And I've talked to you guys before about really enjoying that since I work on computers all day at work. It's nice to be able to have like this sort of like a style that you can bounce back and forth. It's not totally necessary at all, but it's nice. I'll go ahead and add some more lines here just to break up some of these textures. But this is the style, again, I think I feel like I just keep repeating all this stuff. Anyway, if you guys have any questions at all, please just jam them in the chat and I'll be able to help you out. You could really spend a lot of time doing like fabrics and stuff. What's really cool here too is check this out. So like let's just say you know I wanted to do the 2 pixel line or whatever, but because it's anti-aliased, like maybe this like all over here is just too light. You can just copy the layer and just duplicate it and it'll thicken it. So right away it just instantly turned into like a 3 pixel thickness. So you might like the thicker look like that, you know? Or what's really cool is you can go like that and then you can just kind of erase some of it and it gives like this variance kind of look, like you were using a bunch of different brushes a little bit. James is saying, any tips on extreme expressions? The best place to look for that, James, if it was up to me, I like to look at a lot of cartoons, especially anything by like Disney, especially Disney. I mean, they got some of the best people in the, well, they do have the best people in the business, just drawing, right, animating, and expression is key in that. Comic books, I don't know. I would definitely like next time you go to a comic book store, take the hour, devote an hour or whatever, and just look at every single book on the shelf, like the new release section, and just flip through it and see if there's an artist that kind of you look at and you're like, oh, okay, there's something there that I like, and try to look more into them. Tim is saying, have you considered adding slots to your Patreon for the one video chats? I'm going to actually crank it up. I think 2 more slots. I'll do it tonight. I'll do it tonight in case anybody wants to get ready for next month. But yeah, I'll do it tonight. I'll add a couple slots. Thanks for reminding me. I'm out of a jar. The style doesn't use much shadow at all, right? It can. It totally can. I find if you're using a lot of just like this sort of like pen style rendering, we'll say, it looks better to me when it's open like this. And the other thing too is, especially if you know you work with a colorist, or like, again, you know what we'll do for fun? Kind of what we did last week. Gonna make a new layer, and we're just gonna color it really quickly. And you let the colorist do like the work for you. You know, like let them do all the work here. Sorry, I got some of my hotkeys a little. I got them different set up at work. There's like an invert. Do I have it in here? Ah, damn, I don't. Okay, so anyway, so you can do this. Select all this. This I learned from Keenan Lafferty. If you guys are following him on YouTube, wonderful channel. Basically, if you have everything like this, your line art on a separate layer, you just select, turn everything off, select it, and go select, modify, expand by 1 or 2, and then select inverse, and then alt backspace to fill, and you're good to go. Now the reason why there's all this white crap in here, because, here, we'll just finish up with the line art here. What I'm going to do is we're going to make a new layer and just set that to multiply. And what that'll do is turn all the white off. Yeah, he would look like a little bit of a witch, eh? Oh, where's it? Oh, there it is. Okay. He's not supposed to be a witch, though. I know he's kind of got the bump on his nose, so he kind of has the look. But he's more, I'd say, basically homeless. Yeah. Him and the main character. And they sell oranges. So who doesn't like oranges? And I wonder if we got a brush, there might be a little. Just want to see something. A little bit of grit to it. It's kind of got like this newspaper look to it. Not sure how I feel about it. Trying to figure out stuff here. Whatever. We'll just keep using what we got here. So select the gray. We're just going to go just very slightly. But anyway, to sort of answer your question, I think you can make this work for anything, but if you're going to color, it's a preference thing, right? If it's a more of a lighter story, I don't even know. I don't even know if it necessarily has to be a lighter story, but having an open line style is something I'm getting more into. I've always wanted to be that way, as opposed to like the heavy rendering and stuff. As much as I like it, just because there's so many tremendous artists out there that are colorists, right? And they do such beautiful work that I always found most of the colorists I ever worked with when I was doing comics with people is that the heavier the rendering, it was always like it was very difficult to find colorists that could do the job, like do it with justice, you know. And sometimes it would just end up looking real muddy and things get lost. Where I find the open stuff, you let the colorist take care of you, and generally you're okay. That's just me. I find. But yeah, this is starting to feel like a I don't know why, like a newspaper kind of feel. I'm not sure if Castle Dracula is going to be black and white or what. Or color. I'm not sure. Anyway, you could just keep noodling with this stuff here like that. Feels like a storyboard drawing. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And you guys want to see something real cool? I don't know if you guys are into blending modes. Check this out. Gradient map. You make it so, okay, so we want the whites to be white, the darks to be black. But I want some color in here. Maybe we could do some like a light blue or something. So closer to white, we're gonna go blue. Closer to dark, we'll go, or to black, we'll go, I don't know, darker purple. Here, I'll just move it over so you guys can kind of see it. So what this does, this gradient map, for those of you that don't know, is it's just a sliding scale. So on one side is your whites, on one side your blacks. And what this does is it changes all of the values that are in there. What's really cool is you can save this stuff and do your entire comic or whatever in black and white, and then just slap this on there, and you're good to go. So like, maybe we can bring in even a lighter blue. Bring in some darker purple. I think too, because the line art's there, if I bring it up, yeah, see, it'll actually affect the line art. It's like a purple now. And it's really cool. You can just save that, right, and just apply it to, like, basically what I'm saying is as long as I have these gray tones, I could do the whole comic, let's say, like that, and then you can just toss one of these on there and it just quickly gives it a tone. What a lot of people do with this is they'll use it for like background work, like they'll quickly do a I don't know, a desert scene or something like that, and you can just toss this on there and you're good to go. Alright, what time is it? We got about 10 minutes. Alright, so we'll just keep going. Excuse me. Bring our pencils back and see if we can do just like we were doing before. A little bump for his nose. Okay, so we got, like I said, we got under 10 minutes left, guys. So if you had any last questions or anything, that'd be an awesome time to use them. And if not, that's cool. So I want to say thanks to everybody that did show up today. Really appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. This show is every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you are in the chat now and you came in a little bit late, that's cool. Just next Wednesday, subtract about an hour from whatever time zone you're in right now, and that's when we start next week. And then I toss recorded versions of these guys up on the weekend. So if you did miss it or you came in late, or if you just want to rewatch it, that's cool too. Or share it with friends. It'll be up soon-ish. I'm gonna give this big ol' double chin. And how does his hair go? Right. Does the workflow in the Freddie Williams work translate to Manga Studio? Yep, it does. And I would say it does as much as you want it to. Manga Studio, I would say, gives you better looking art, especially if you're not that comfortable with drawing in Photoshop. But if you are used to Photoshop, I don't know. I don't want to sway people. I'd rather everybody try out both Manga Studio and Photoshop and decide for themselves. One of the best things I prefer personally, just because I'm familiar with Photoshop, is I like to work with the keyboard. Just the amount of shortcuts. And you guys have seen me do like buildings and backgrounds and stuff like that. I always use building faces and paths. I don't like drawing backgrounds. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Even in this, I'm going to be using a SketchUp. Hopefully I'm going to record it. We'll see how the trial run goes. I want to have their little homeless orange merchant stand because it'll be in quite a few panels and stuff. So and plus it's a test I want to do too of putting backgrounds in SketchUp. I just want to understand that program a little bit more so I can make custom SketchUp models. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. For future projects and stuff like that. So if you're into that, you can check that out too. Always rewatch them on YouTube and tell people that 348 says my name. Am I using a special brush? Nope. This is a default round brush in Photoshop. Just set to 3 pixels. If you're interested in this workflow, check out the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. Most libraries actually have it, so you could probably check it out for free. Or you can just order it online. It's pretty cheap. I highly recommend, even if you don't like this workflow, or maybe Manga Studio or Photoshop, especially Photoshop, you're really interested in drawing, illustrating it all in there. There's a lot of workflow that's in there that I recommend checking out. Matter, is this how you would work on a real page a day comic jar? I can see how this could probably do 1 or 2 pages a day with this technique, or I should say workflow. I haven't done comic pages like this since the standard when I first got into digitally drawing. Once I found Manga Studio, I fell in love with Manga Studio. I still think it's a fabulous program. A lot of the workflow I went into there, and I found that in Manga Studio, my brushes and my lines always looked better. So I never really went back to this technique. It was more of I've got a pressure sensitive brush and I'm able to get cooler looking lines all the time. So I would get lost in it that way and stuck in the problem, especially with the small Cintiq here, of being zoomed in too much. So you're putting in too much work that you can't see. And like I've said, a buddy of mine, you guys know I don't want to, I won't say anymore, but we were just kind of talking and we put a lot of work into our pages, and then the colorist, not really necessarily their fault, but colors would go to those pages and all the detail, all the hard work is gone. It's very hard to see that stuff. So just try to be a more conscious effort to do this sort of thing. I will say, head on over to my fan page. You can see a little link at the bottom there in the video, Art by Jar. Check that out. Just scroll down a little bit. Freddie Williams, I actually asked him a question about his workflow. It will answer your question big time. It's his version, and he's done this daily, so you can see what he's up to. But it almost sounds like he's hammering out a 22-page book in like 3 weeks, almost. My good buddy Will Robson, you guys know him. He actually just shared with me today. I think he did so like this rough stuff. Let me just show you like this blue pencil stuff, like this. He did even rougher than that, I would say, maybe in between this and that. I think he's posted about like 4 to 6 pages he did today, just like this. And that's one day. That's huge, okay? And then the second, or what he's going to be doing, I'm assuming, is the wireframes next, which Freddie likes to call it, which is what we're doing right now, these lines right here. And you don't have to be perfect. Like, look at these lines in here. Like, they're pretty, it's busy and a hot mess. And we still got to put the line weights and stuff, but eventually you're kind of going to something similar to this, and it's quicker, absolutely quicker. I would say if you're looking for speed, check this out. You might even be able to do it with just using what is it, pressure sensitive brushes without necessarily having to look like this. If you don't like the art style that is, that's cool too. But I would check it out and see if you can work in the stages of like wireframes, roughs, wireframes, then inks, and that's what this last stage would be called. Yep. I think that's everybody's problem. Because I'm not alone. I know a lot of people talk about it, myself included. Just wish got way too many stories to tell, or you want to get paid more. You want to get paid quicker, and it's always how do we get faster? How do we get faster? And what I'm noticing again, just to bring it around from what I said in the beginning, is like a lot of the artists that I follow, man, like their comic book art is great, but their illustration art, like the art they're doing for themselves or on the side, is even better. And a lot of them say they got like that comic book style, right? So you got to go back and forth. You got to find what works for you, and there's a lot of heartache that comes in it for sure, because you're gonna be spending a lot of time practicing and stuff and trying to find that one flow where really if you were just working, you probably just get more work done. But honestly, like I say again one more time, I think I'm done with trying to have a certain style. Like if it's a commission or something, I'll most likely go in there and get a little more artsy fartsy and stuff. But you guys, if you've been following my channel for a while, which I know some of you guys have, how many projects do I say I'm always starting? Personal projects, I should say, and I just never finish them. And there's always a brand new idea that comes along, and I can't work like that. It's very paralyzing. As like as just a person, not even like an artist, but like as a person and a creator, it's so paralyzing, and it stacks on itself to the point where you get nothing done, or I get nothing done, because I'm always like, I'm always getting hung up on the dumb stuff. So I'm letting the art, which actually sounds like it feels bad, because I feel like I'm still part of that old school train of thought of the art has to be the best art you can always do. And I don't know, maybe that's like an older way of thinking, but if you're trying to get into comic books, like for the big two, let's say, this is just my opinion, but if you're trying to get in work with them, it's like they're hammering content. All they do is create content, and yeah, there's people that can take forever to do pages and they look great, and then there's people that can do pages on the regular and they get work, right? So you just gotta, I guess it's more of the put on the business hat as opposed to just the art hat all the time. And that's just me kind of rambling about that. Oh, great, Matt Editor. Please let me know how what you think. I would love to hear how it works for you. Sorry, Sad, I didn't see your question. Is there a difference between Paint Tool Sci? Because I have both. I don't know which one's better. I just want to see if you asked the question before that. No, Paint Tool Sci. I don't think I've ever used, so I'm sorry. I'm not sure. The only two programs I've used in depth that I could say that like I've done production work on and stuff is Photoshop and Manga Studio. Both highly recommended. Photoshop's cost is insane. So most of us get it how creatively we can. Manga Studio is always on the cheap, always having sales. I don't know why you wouldn't buy it, or get it wherever you can. Two wonderful programs. Manga Studio most especially if you're making comics. Again, I'm just comfortable with Photoshop. It's what I've been using since fucking grade 10. And I graduated high school in 2000. Okay, so what is that, like 98? 1997, 1998 I've been using Photoshop, so I'm pretty accustomed to it, blah, blah, blah. As I did try, what is that one everybody talks about? Sketchbook Pro. I tried that for maybe like a few hours. Not for me. I mean, I guess it was cool, but I always felt like I could do the exact same thing in other programs. But once you find your program, it's kind of like finding your pencil or your pen that you like. Once you like it, you kind of stick around with it, and you always go back to it when times get tough. I'm trying to be perfect, and that does not pay the bills. I'm with you. 3 days on 2 panels is ridiculous. Yeah, you can't work like that, Matter, and you know that. That's why you're saying that. So yeah, definitely try it out, buddy. I would recommend pulling back. I know it's the hardest thing to do, or I'll look at stuff. Again, even looking at one last thing before we go. This picture here, I look at it. I think it's fine. I think it's fine for what it's doing. How long do people read a comic book page for, let alone a panel? Very rarely do people sit on a panel. They might flip back and look at it, but it's just telling the story, moving it along. And if it was up to me, again, I'd go in here and I would be rendering a lot of this stuff out, cleaning it up, but it's fine. And that's sort of like my motto now. It's fine. I know it sounds so bad. It's fine. That's it. It's fine. Anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I always appreciate when you guys spend your time with me. It's great. We get to have these conversations. Cool stuff. Next week, bring your what's it called? Your critiques. I'm gonna have the majority of the show, if not all of it. We'll see how many people have them. We'll just do a whole critique show next week. Okay. So if you guys are watching on YouTube and you want to make it in, please do your best to do so. It's every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't, send me a private message either on YouTube, Facebook, however you're following me, with a link to what you'd like critiqued and a little description of what you would like critiqued. You know, like what is it that's kind of bugging you. And if I can help you out, I'll do so. And if we can get on the show, that'd be great too. Okay, you guys, so I feel like we need an outro song from now on. I'm going to play an outro song from now on. Okay? What are we going to do? I know this song. We'll play an outro song. You guys won't be able to hear it on YouTube. Sorry, I apologize. But anyway, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.